The Green Knight is the new film from writer and director David Lowery, the mind behind A Ghost Story, probably one of the more divisive movies in A24's catalog. When I saw it on Netflix a few years after it came out, I was honestly expecting to hate it, but I ended up liking it a lot. Yes, it had its moments of self-indulgence, most notably the infamous 5-minute long pie eating scene, but overall it was a very interesting and thought-provoking movie. Although after watching it I realized that I may have lost my relatability. I'm officially a boring film snob now. And now here we are, with him making probably the closest A24 will come to a blockbuster. An epic fantasy based on an Arthurian legend. It cost $15 million, but looks like it cost a lot more. And it seems to have split people in the same way that A Ghost Story did. Me, I think it was good, although not as good as A Ghost Story. Although I guess I can kinda see some people liking it better. The effects and cinematography look amazing. This truly does look like the art house version of The Lord of the Rings or something like that. There are no action sequences, and the focus is on a somewhat quiet journey. But unfortunately, that kind of contributes to the problem with this movie. The pacing is at times glacial, it feels slower than A Ghost Story even though there was more plot and nothing as excessive as the pie scene. Granted, it could have just been because I was expecting to hate A Ghost Story and expecting to really like The Green Knight, but we could also definitely point to the fact that A Ghost Story was 93 minutes long and The Green Knight is over 2 hours. But when it's good, it's great. The turns the story takes and certain plot lines are interesting when they're actually moving forward, and the whole thing is a good story about facing our inevitable demise. There is a major plot hole in the sense that the whole story was set in motion because the main character did something really stupid, but that's just the source material and the movie had to work with that. I said some people might like it more than A Ghost Story because it feels bigger and looks a lot better. It's a good movie, but if it had cut out some of the filler, it could have been a great one. It's a beautiful fantasy that dazzles despite its slow pace.
所以，如果您是一个知识界记的小家伙，您也喜欢傻笑什么事，也不能更糟。Monty Python and the Holy Grail 看完了，来这里吃便饭。
Well, you can't say this one was boring. The Suicide Squad was written and directed by James Gunn of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He was hired by DC to make this when he was briefly fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 before being rehired again. Some internet troll uncovered some tweets to get him fired. Now he has more work than he did before.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
And the Guardians of the Galaxy movies may be two of my favorite Marvel movies, so this should be interesting. Anyway, it's a sort of sequel, sort of do-over of the original Suicide Squad, because the word "the" really makes all the difference. Alright, for those of you who haven't heard my thoughts on the original from my Birds of Prey review, I liked it the first time I saw it, but it does not hold up. I still prefer it to Wonder Woman 1984 though, but it's definitely a product of too much studio interference. At least the Ayer cut and all that, at least for the sake of the artist. This one is much better though, probably better than the Ayer cut too. In fact, it might at least tie with Shazam for best in the DC universe. I know I also said that for Birds of Prey, but I'm more convinced this time. Even when I said it last time, I think I already decided on Shazam, hence why I gave it a lower rating than that movie. Not this time. At least not yet. This one has a lower rating and it does not mess around with it. This has got to be one of the most violent superhero films out there. More than Deadpool, more than Logan, it's maybe on the level of the Hellboy remake. There are a couple images here that aren't exactly pleasant to look at. This is definitely the same James Gunn who used to work for Troma, and then made gruesome comedies like Slither and Super. But despite this, it also has the oddball sense of humor and characters that made Guardians of the Galaxy great. It focuses on bizarre, morally ambiguous characters, including quite a few who are kind of a joke, but they are all very funny and likable. And the violent, over-the-top antics that they get up to are excellent dark comedy. The villain in the climax looks very goofy and I love it. There are a lot of squad members who don't make it to the end, although I'll admit I was slightly disappointed in that regard since I've seen a lot of promotional material and tweets about that aspect and it didn't exactly happen as often as I was expecting. It's mostly just one scene that happens early on, and after that it really only happens sparingly. But I can't fault the movie for that, and besides, the scene in question was the perfect way to set up the tone. Bloody, bonkers, and hilarious. I guess a minor complaint I have with it is the death of one character near the end. I just thought the guy deserved more than just a joke death. I mean, why flesh him out and make the audience fall in love with him if you expect us all to laugh when he bites the dust? I guess I'm no longer a snob just because of a ghost story. I'm saying The Green Knight was boring and disappointing and think The Suicide Squad is one of the best movies of the year so far. I liked it better than a ghost story and The Green Knight combined, and it's better than Guardians of the Galaxy as well. Also, shout out to DC for no longer making these movies feel like ads for other movies and shows. Now that they're not as focused on making them all cross over anymore, there's really only one tease after the credits of this movie and nothing else. Certain other cinematic universes can learn a thing or two from that.